All right, I'm with Dustin Perry, CEO of Kingfisher Metals. The symbol is KFR on the TSX Venture. And Kingfisher is currently drilling the Highway 37 project in the Golden Triangle. This is a company that I've followed since November of 2024. It was on my tax loss silly season list at 16 cents at the end of 2024. And we're trading above 40 cents this morning. And Kingfisher is out with another update. So we're going to get into it with Dustin. How are you this morning, Dustin?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. So 6,850 meters of drilling completed. And it's always interesting when I read a news release from Kingfisher because there's always a lot to think about, a lot to unpack. I'll just give you my first blush interpretations, and then we can dig into it a bit deeper. So hole 8 at Williams is a western step out, I guess, to tests maybe the vertical extent, I guess, is the depth extent, I guess, is my interpretation. And it looks pretty good to me based upon the visuals and what you wrote in the news release. And then gets a little more complicated as you read into the news release, and then we get into the Upper Hank target area. And hole 6 sounds like you've got a bit of a puzzle on your hands there. Is that the case?
Yeah, hole 6 was it was something that Gail and I couldn't fully appreciate until we saw it in person. It might have been something that people on site wouldn't have appreciated, but it was just the sheer amount of sulfide and fluid flow through that rock that kind of amazed us. We expected to hit sulfide given you're drilling into an IP anomaly, but it was more the continuity of it and the flavor of it. Seeing sooty pyrite is, it might have been phyllic. We didn't know what we were going to get into there. And phyllic mineralization is often a little more cubic pyrite. These are a lot of like fine nuances that you're never going to see from a photo necessarily. But sooty pyrite often carries gold, and I assume there's going to be gold in that hole. I have no idea what it's going to grade to. So I'm not going to make any proclamation of what it's going to grade. It could be low grade. It could be better. I have no idea. There is gold in intercepts around it. We did not drill a porphyry there. What we drilled, though, could be epithermal mineralization overprinting a porphyry. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say when you're dealing with really altered rock, but the rock doesn't look like much, it's just gray rock, but then you look into it and it's like 5 to 20% sulfide with long runs of 15% pyrite. You don't see that often, like of that scale, 800 meters, and it's smack dab in the middle of a huge hydrothermal system. So it's good. It's adding the third dimension to this giant system. You see it at the Hank area. And we flew around the project and you covered a bit more ground looking in the helicopter, trying to kind of put the regional story together. And that Hank trend, but really that big Dawson you see at Hank going down on either side towards Williams and then the other side, that really stands out. It's, I would say it's like an Andean scale alteration system. You see things easier in the Andes because there's no trees. Here you've got trees, so you kind of have to infer where it's going through the little outcrops in the trees from a visual standpoint. But it's a huge anomaly, and it was good to get deep down into it.
Okay, so hole 6 at the Upper Hank. You drilled this one really deep. You let it run to 842 meters, but you have no idea how it's going to grade. So you're going to wait to see the assays here, and then decide if you're going to put another hole into this target, and how you're going to put that hole into the target and the orientation that it will be drilled at.
Yeah, so that's the first deep test there. People haven't really drilled into the lithocap. There was one. Let's bring up a map here. This isn't from the release. This is just the technical presentation. Is that working fine?
Yeah, I can see it. You might want to expand it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it was on this map I don't have it plotted, but it was approximately right in here where this hole plots. And if I go back to here, so it was right on top of this little ridge here. You can see the old roads that they had an excavator or a bulldozer in back in the 1980s. And I talked to somebody. I thought I'd read somewhere that they had a winter cat road in here, and couldn't relocate that information. I was talking on Twitter with Jody DeRouge, and he was saying he was working with LAC back in the day, talking about that, and he was commenting on how there's a huge low-grade bulk tonnage story here. So maybe we identified that. So basically, what I'm getting at is most of the drilling here has been shallow, and there was one attempt at going deeper in an area here, but that hole that went in there went into a relatively calm location. It went not on this section, but it kind of went into an area with no IP, so no sulfide. These are not up to date, obviously. The hole we drilled would come more like from up here and down here. And if I put on this image, you can kind of see a near surface chargeability feature. And this is filtered chargeability. So keep in mind that there's chargeability areas outside of this. This is just filtered to really high. So 45 would be the outside of this. And these values are based on the inversion. So they might change from what you'd see in a 2D section. And we did do more IP in that area. But if you're in 10% pyrite, that's very high chargeability. And there's a Pipelike feature here extending from a deeper charge anomaly. And that's what we wanted to test, because you have pyrite cemented breccias at surface. And that is an indication that you're in a fluid pathway, a breccia that might come off of a porphyry or an epithermal system. We don't know these things. There's a lot of scale to work with on this project. So we wanted to drill down into that. And, there is gold in the holes around. This hole here is 128 at 0.17. It's a very shallow test. Got down, I believe, less than 100 meters below surface. The tops of these holes are super weathered. I'm not sure how much gold would be in the very top, but when I mean the very top, I mean 50 meters, assuming there's gold. But this hole here, basically when you have sulfide, you have gold, and it's variable. And when you don't have sulfide, you don't have gold. So I expect there to be gold in this hole. I just don't know what it's going to grade, and I don't want to create unrealistic expectations. And I don't want people betting on this thinking it's going to be some crazy thing. I think it could be good. I've said to our team, this is a wild card hole for us. We don't know what it's going to grade, but we do know that it is really demonstrating the scale of this system, because we see this system from way up. So I climbed up onto this mountain up here from the backside. I climbed way up here, and you've got argillic alteration, advanced argillic alteration all the way on the ridge top. And that's at 2,000 meters, and we're seeing porphyry mineralization. I don't know offhand, but it must be below 500 meters above sea level. So we've got like a mile of vertical here, and then quite a few kilometers by quite a few kilometers. So that's a big area. What I would say is that I don't think Williams is causing that, because it's just from a simple mass balance standpoint. I think Williams would have to be a much larger footprint to cause that much, to be able to carry the fluids to put that much sulfide. So there's, as we believed, and Chris Paul's talked about it before, like he believes the same thing. There's other porphyries to be found here. You're going to have to drill through epithermal mineralization to get them, because there's epithermal mineralization on the surface. So this is the first step in that direction. And we are drilling at Lower Hank right now too, which is lower down. So we'll see what comes of that. But I would say this is a very good first piece of evidence drilling to that area that confirms our hypothesis that we're in a very large hydrothermal system. And we'll have to wait for the results and the spectral work and all that to vector on this.
Okay, yeah. So hole 11 at Lower Hank is in progress right now, and basically hole 6 at the Upper Hank Porphyry Target shows a ton of sulfides, but a lot of it is this kind of pyrite that you're seeing, which may or may not run with gold. So we'll have to see the assays. But kind of interesting that that hole that was drilled, I don't know, I guess 7 years ago, that was near surface, tags into 0.17 grams per ton gold with a lot of weathering.
That's actually from around 91, I believe, 1991.
Oh, 91. Okay.
Long
That wasn't Golden Ridge. Okay.
No.
I see. But yeah, so that would lend to the idea, the possibility that you could have 0.3 or 0.4 grams per ton at depth as you get into those very high, content sulfides.
Yeah, you have no idea. I'm not I'm not promising anything. I'm optimistic. There are zones of nice looking veins within there. Some are pretty broad, and there is a photo in there, I think the second photo from hole 6, that shows biotite alteration. So downhole, it appears to be getting hotter. And then we are seeing base metals in this. So you do get a bit of moly higher up. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to collect a sample from that and get an age date done for that, because we already have an age date for Williams. So we're going to try to work out, is this what's the time span between this and Williams? With that in mind, we're taking age dates on most of the prospects where we can. We found moly in a few other locations, such as Mess Creek and Rainbow. We were able to find some moly to date. So it costs, I think it's around $2,000 for a date, and it's not gonna get investors' attention. It will get majors' attention, and it will help us solve the exploration riddle here, hopefully. Timing is a big thing in these systems. The epithermal mineralization comes after porphyry mineralization,
Right?
But we don't know. Maybe Williams came after. Maybe there was ongoing porphyries and epithermal. But we don't know this. This is exploration. You don't know everything. You got to go on your best hunches and use the evidence you have, and hopefully you figure it out in due course.
Yeah, no, it's a puzzle, and you're constantly trying to acquire more data, get high quality data, and put the pieces of the puzzle together to solve the mystery, right? So hole 8 at Williams, tell us about this one, because obviously you have some really nice core here in the visuals in the news release. It looks like you hit a very wide zone of potassic alteration, but not totally clear on how this one will grade, but it looks good to me.
Yeah, so we started in nice strong mineralization, and then I don't remember, I don't have the release right in front of me, but then past, it must have been around 150 or so. It's flagged in the release, but at one point we passed into much less reactive wall rock than what we hit on hole 4. So more felsic, less iron in it. It did not have the same scale of alteration, but then we got back into a much longer run around 500 meters where we stayed in the right rocks you want to be in. So the monzonite to cyanites and the more mafic host rocks. So it extended mineralization to the northeast as well. It drilled underneath some previous drilling where you did not have mineralization coming to the level of those drill holes. So it did kind of flare the system out in that direction. So it was what we've been trying to do with these drill holes is, of course, we're trying to drill good intercepts, but we're also trying to get as much information we can get out of this to determine how to chase this thing deeper in the future and figure out where the center of gravity is.
I see. And so hole 9 in progress is stepping further to the south from hole 8.
Again, yeah, it's trying to test the edge of the system in that direction, and hole 10 as well, kind of in that general area, trying to go deeper. Yeah, we're trying to figure out, is it going north? Is it going south? Is it going, which way is this thing tilted? And while doing this, trying to get as much info, because we've seen 3 different intrusions in here so far, potentially 4. And there's one that you really want to hit. I would say it's a cyanite. Like the ideal situation is you have that with andesite or basalt wall rock. That's where you get really, really happening mineralization. And there's some intervals in there, and they're no way representative of the whole hole. But there are some sections where you pick up a row of core box, and it's like incredible, several percent disseminated Bornite, plus chalcopyrite, plus veins going through it. Not indicative of the entire hole in no way, but there are sections in there where you see grade that is pretty wild, that is reminiscent of, well, not grade, where you see mineralization pretty, very stuffed. And that's the target for there, is finding like a cohesive body that can make tonnage of that scale. But what I will say is what we've learned from Williams is it's providing a very good degree of confidence that this greater trend has the ability to produce good grades of mineralization. We already knew that from historic assays, and now that we're actually seeing the rocks for the first time, having the drill core, we can see this is a fertile place in the Earth's crust that we're dealing with. It was tapping a magmatic center that was able to create good grades. So there's a lot of potential to hit more of that under this giant lithocap and epithermal cover. And yeah, it's like what we've done this year has elevated the prospectivity of this area significantly in my mind. It's very fortunate to have this project.
So hole 8 in the news release, this is a tricky question, but I'm going to throw it at you because you're good at handling these tricky questions. You put core picks, you put like maybe 4 different or five different runs of core in the news release. So I'm just talking about the first one, the first core pick showing pretty, I mean, in my mind, that's pretty strong Bornite. You've got some chalcopyrite in there too, but really Bornite is going to be the abundant one in that core visual at 315 meters down hole in hole 8. Now, I know it's not representative of the whole 800 meters, obviously, but if we're just talking about what we're seeing in this core right here, how would you estimate that's going to grade? I'll just give you my amateur opinion. It looks like that might have like 2% Bornite in it, and Bornite is 63% copper. There's a little chalcopyrite, so I'd give a little more. I would say ballpark that's going to be 1.5 to 2% copper. But again, I have no idea. I'm not a professional, but that's what my interpretation, would be. Is that way off or is that close?
That's probably on the high side. I've got polished core here, and I can hold some up and tell you what it grades.
This was not scripted, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing this on the fly. He had no idea I was going to ask this question.
Okay, so this, I don't know how well you can see this.
Yeah.
So this doesn't look like much. I'm trying to tilt it so you can actually see the fine sulfides in there. I don't know how that's going to work, but this, for example, has a lot of chalco and Bornite that you see. It's difficult to see, and it's in the 1%, 1 gram kind of range. This one's 0.5%.
Okay. I can see that one better. Yeah, when the light's not right on it, I can see it better.
Yeah, so I think 2 is too high. I don't know. I think 0.8 could be a reasonable guess for
so
something
is that
like
0.8 copper with some gold byproduct, or is that 0.8 copper equivalent?
It's generally gold is 4 to 3. So 0.8 gold, 0.8 copper, 1 gram gold, maybe. Okay. That's not. I'm not saying the whole hole is going to be that. That's what.
No, I know. Yeah, we're not going to hold you to 1% copper equivalent for the whole hole, Dustin. I'm talking about these really nice intervals that you're showing. So it's somewhere around 1% copper equivalent when you get that much of the Bornite with chalcopyrite.
Well, a good example would be the hole 13 from 2018. There was a subinterval of 190 meters of 0.59, so called 0.6 or no 0.4, 0.5 copper, 0.6 gold over 190 meters, and there's gaps in there where it goes down to 0.3, and then there's 0.8. There's a few samples at 1% copper in there, probably up to maybe 1.5 grams in some, in individual 2-meter runs. But that's what it's comping over 190 meters. So that can give you a good idea of some of the grade potential. But I'm not saying we're drilling like 800 meters of that. There's grade potential there. You go in and out of higher grade areas. Hard to say.
Okay. And let's talk about some of the other background work that's been going on. I mean, everybody focuses on the drilling and the drill results. Everybody wants to see assays. When are the assays coming? And obviously they're coming, and that's important. And, we all want to see that. But there's a lot of work that goes on in the background. So you've got mapping, soil sampling, rock sampling. You've got IP going on. Tell us about all the work that's going on in the background and why that's so important for the exploration program at Highway 37.
Yeah, so I'll describe what's happened and then talk about the relevance and importance. So in addition to drilling this year, we completed I think 1750, I believe, like a large airborne EM survey, so a mobile MT, so electromagnetic survey going deep. I think we'll see about 2 kilometers with that. So that finished up quickly, which is nice because we tried to do a Z10 survey last year and we got kicked at, pushed down to the back of the queue despite paying a deposit early in the season for that. And that survey never ended up getting flown last year. So we got that flown on time quickly this year. We also completed IP. So we added IP in a few gaps in the Hank Williams area. We extended some lines and then we pushed it further to the northeast, and then we also ran a line over Rainbow, basically a reconnaissance line to see if it works and to know whether to allocate more to that next year. So that was the geophysical program, and then you could add LiDAR into that. LiDAR finished in 2 days when I was there actually last weekend, and LiDAR wasn't done over the whole project area. Neither were any of these surveys, but everything in this Hank Williams kind of general area with Mary and Rainbow was covered by these surveys. LiDAR is going to be huge for us. As you can see, there's forests below the Hank Gossens, and LiDAR gives you the actual real ground to very high detail. I think, the imagery is 20 centimeter resolution, so about that much. So you'll see a boulder that big, say. I think the LiDAR is around that. And that helps a lot for structural modeling, projecting geology, building 3D models. We use that at Gold Range, and although we didn't hit like world-class intercepts there, we were able to model faults in geology in LiDAR and predictably hit the structures, whether they hit with gold or not. So it works well. And we've avoided targeting the high-grade epithermal system at Hank until we have that data. And I actually believe there's a lot of potential because nobody's actually looked for the ore shoots of these and targeted them in a really strong structural way. So I still think there's potential for that, and that is something I'd like to test in the future, as long as I can do it without making our story too complicated for investors. It's just, if there's an opportunity, you should probably go for it. So those are all the things that were done. But the crews were good and able to do that. I think that's why it hadn't been sampled before. So still awaiting that data too. And then a lot of rock sampling because we had a lot of really good geologists on site. So Dr. Stephanie Sikora, one of our advisors, she finished up mapping more in the Hank Williams area. And then Dr. Roy Gregg and a team of geologists from Charlie Gregg's company, CJ Gregg and Associates, they covered a huge amount of the project. So they were way out at Hickman, at Mess Creek, at Northmore, at Rainbow, at Mary, kind of like everywhere. Roy was doing a lot of the really big traverses, so trying to tie the whole region together. And they've taken a ton of samples and we're doing age dating through them. So it's like a lot of data was collected this year. We don't look at these types of things as like a 1 year, like we're trying to build a company for a sale here. And we don't know where the best target is going to be right away. Right now, I believe the Hank Williams area is the focus, but you never know, and you always need backups. And maybe you'll have two amazing areas to test. So like you need to do this work in the background, and it's hard to do a regional program of this scale if you're not doing a drill program, because it would be hard to raise that amount of money just to go do this, because results probably are not going to appear material to any investor from, say, surface rock sampling or geophysical surveys. It's, you need drill results. So it's good we're able to kind of piggyback on the drill program and do all this stuff in the background.
Very good. Yeah, it's very important work, and it sets the stage for 2026 and 2027. And you have to do that groundwork. You have to do that scientific work to put the odds more in your favor for the future. So final question, Dustin, I'll let you go. And I know this is always a tricky question too. Everybody I talk to is trying to get news ready for Beaver Creek. It seems like the Tuesday of Beaver Creek week, September 9th, we're going to have like 200 news releases across the sector. People are trying to rush their assays in time for that. You think Kingfisher is going to have something for, the investment audience at Beaver Creek?
Still don't know. The samples have been prepped.
Okay.
And we had to send them all the way to Timmins because it shortened the prep time by a month versus.
Oh my God. Okay. You sent all the way to Timmins. Wow.
Yeah. So the samples have been prepped, and yeah, everybody, including me, has to be patient and just wait for them. There is going to be a cutoff day where, if they come in the Sunday before Beaver Creek, I don't know how I could get that out in time. I've got 45 meetings already.
You got to travel. You got to attend the meetings. There's no way you can write a news release that does it justice. Yeah. So
I got to go to site right before Beaver Creek anyway.
Oh,
so
okay.
Somebody around.
Wow.
So they'll come out when they come out, and we're not like. I know some companies delay things as long as possible. They'll come out when they come out, and that's that. So
yeah. Well, at least hopefully the U.S. Customs people will let you smuggle in some of that nice Bornite core to show us at Beaver Creek.
I will definitely. I didn't grab any when I was up there just now, but I'm gonna go when I go back in the next week. I'll grab a few pieces. And what we do, which is interesting, is or not interesting, which is just good for us for being able to show people. You can't do a site tour in the Golden Triangle in the winter, but we take skeleton core. So basically, every 10 meters, we take about a 20 or 10 centimeter piece of core from every drill hole, and it's marked where we took it. There's a piece of flagging saying skeleton core, and then there's core boxes that have these pieces in them. So, for example, we're going to do spectral work on that core in the winter. It's just a lot cheaper than renting the machine all summer, and we probably wouldn't have been able to integrate that immediately into the program anyways. So we're going to be able to do that after, but also we're going to be able to show core to people. So you can do a site visit an hour out of Squamish effectively in the wintertime, and we will bring back probably an entire hole or something like that. So yeah, there'll be drill core here. You'll see it. You'll see some down there. You'll see some at MIF. Hopefully we'll be in the core shack or Roundup and PDAC as well.
Yeah, I'll see you twice in September at Beaver Creek, and then you'll be on my panel at MIF. Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Cheers.